Welcome to the Wholeness and Wellness podcast. I'm your host, Megan Tubes, founder of Libra Living Wellness Limited. And this is episode 21, and it's part of the Real Talk Reflection series. And it's called Numbing Nonsense. Numbing out is the pause we take when the noise gets too loud. Um, when I thought of this idea for this episode, I've I do talk about numbing out in some things, but um, I wanted to do this episode because I've been kind of struggling with this a lot lately, and have been numbing out a lot lately because I've been kind of overwhelmed by things, overwhelmed with stress. And again, it's that noise inside of our minds that's really hard to turn off, like the worries, the stress, the overthinking, like everything. And so it gets overwhelming and then we numb out because it's the easiest thing to do. Instead of dealing with what's going on inside, it's like, I'm going to go do this activity that really doesn't require any thinking, barely any effort from me. So I really wanted to do an episode about this. And so numbing out, like when I think of numbing out, um, it's subtle, it's everyday, it's automatic. It's again those moments where we reach for something that helps us to turn off instead of tune in. Which it could be various different things for different people. It could be scrolling on your phone. Like I think me and my partner kind of both do that sometimes, where you're just watching reels and it's like been an hour and like, oh my gosh, I've been sitting here for an hour watching reels. Um, or binge watching, Netflix or some other kind of TV show uh, or app or whatever. Overworking could also be numbing out, throwing yourself into your work and just kind of numbing out with work, playing video games, playing computer games, just always staying busy, never like stopping and doing it could be anything to avoid the noise. Again, that it could look different. Like my numbing out could look different than your numbing out. Um, I would say for me, I will talk about that, my numbing out. I My biggest one is I will binge watch TV. So if there's like a show I haven't watched before and it's new, I'll get really hooked and I'll be like, okay, I'm gonna sit down, I'm gonna watch one episode, and then I'm gonna go do something else. It'll be hours later and I've watched 5 episodes and they're like not short episodes, they're like let's say 40 minutes long. And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, it's like time for bed. Like I need to go to bed." I've done that a lot over these past few months where it's been typically I go to bed around 10 o'clock-ish and it'll be 11 o'clock, midnight, sometimes even 1, and I'm still watching it. And I'm like, what am I doing? I need to go to sleep. Um, but so again, I think numbing just happens automatically, and then we get hooked to doing that because it really shuts off our brain. And I will say, in addition to that, when I go to sleep at night, I always put on a show. And like the TV usually turns off after a certain period, like it doesn't stay on all night. But I'll put on a show that I've watched 100 times for background noise. Because if not, my brain, I'm laying there, I'm like, okay, tomorrow I gotta do this, or I'm starting to worry. So I kind of do that for like getting ready to sleep as well, because my brain does not shut off. And I've had that problem since I was younger. Like I would be lying awake at night in school and be like, worrying about tomorrow or what I did that day. So I always used to put on TV, put the sleep timer on. So at least it helps me go to sleep. Um, Now numbing out, again, I think it's that automatic thing that happens. It's it's something I think our body does as a coping mechanism. Like when um and it, again, it happens kind of quietly, automatically. We say, "Oh, we're just going to watch one episode." Then it's like 5 episodes later, or if you just look at your phone for one thing and then you like sometimes I think I'll check my Facebook to see if I have messages, but then I start scrolling reels and I'm like, it's like at least 30 minutes or longer. And I'm like, oh, shoot, like I need to go do something productive. Um, but yeah, it's that constant background noise so that we don't hear our own thoughts or again, it's a way to distract our minds as well to something that's a little lighter. Because a lot of times what's going on in our brain, first of all, there's so many thoughts and so many things happening at once. It's kind of crazy how we can actually function in everyday life. Um, but we turn to these things to kind of quiet the noise, and we do it automatically as that coping mechanism, because it can be too overwhelming at times. Um, so again, it's coping mechanism, but our body trying to protect us by kind of shutting down the intensity that's going on in our minds. Um, like I said, I've been, you know, dealing with that a lot lately. And I feel like for me, there's different times in my life where, it's can be a little bit more challenging or difficult, and I will numb out, or I allow myself to numb out like on the weekends. Sundays are my days for like, okay, I'm doing absolutely nothing. I'm gonna do basically all numbing out activities such as like watch TV or play video games. Um or computer games, or I also like to puzzle. So I just do some kind of simple, fun tasks so that I can relax and numb out. And I think numbing out is important for us to sometimes reset and be able to kind of move forward, because if we don't, I feel like we could fall apart basically. So we need those moments to kind of numb out. Like I said, I every now and then, or I leave Sundays for doing nothing. Or there's times, throughout my life, like I said, it's a little bit more challenging. So I tend to numb out more, and kind of just basically numb out for like a day and a half and kind of give myself a chance to kind of reset and reboot. Um, but there are times where I kind of fall um, into a deeper habit of numbing out instead of dealing with what's going on underneath. And I'll maybe touch on that a little bit more in a moment. Um, but we think of numbing out like we numb out because the noise, whether it's internal or external, just becomes too loud. Stress stacks up. We don't know where to put it. Um, Everything feels overwhelming, and to feel everything that's going on at once is it's an overload. It's too much for our nervous system. So in a sense of protecting us, we tend to automatically go to that numbing out activity. Because it's easier to escape those more deeper level things that are underneath the surface. Like those aren't always fun to deal with, but so it's easier to just, oh, I'm gonna go watch 5 episodes of this show instead of deal with this. And it is the easier thing to do, don't get me wrong. And I think we should, take time to do that. Take a break from those things. Um, but also I think we do unfortunately have to deal with those harder things underneath the surface, come back to it when we've kind of reset. So, in light of that, it's the awareness, which isn't stopping numbing, but it's about noticing maybe when you're going into your numbing out habit too much. Catching yourself in the moment and asking, what am I avoiding right now? Um, and maybe choosing one conscious moment instead of automatic shutdown. Now, again, that numbing out, I think, allows us to kind of reset, reboot. And then when we feel safe enough again, we can kind of come back to maybe what we were trying to avoid in the first place. So it's also remembering that numbing is a pause, kind of like what I said at the beginning. Um, it's a pause, it's a reset, but the healing begins when we come back to ourselves, and kind of work through those harder things. Um, so so yeah, numbing out, we all do it. And again, I think we don't always notice it. We just automatically do it. Life is full of crazy things. Stress. Um, there's always something, you have to see about. So it's easier to just numb out. But I think it's also important to know when it's starting to become a really bad habit, because, people could use, substance abuse as a way of numbing out, which can be, it could lead to something worse. Now I'm not saying to you, don't go out there and have a drink because I definitely drink on the weekends, but it's noticing when something's starting to become a problem. Like if I was constantly just watching TV for hours and hours of the day to numb out and not actively doing something, then I know, okay, I have a problem. I need to get out. I need to socialize, or I need to find an activity for myself. Um, you know, now I had something else that came up while I was thinking that, but um anyway, maybe it'll come back to me. But what I've noticed, and like I've become more aware of things myself, that I do when I get to a point where it's just too much, I will numb out for, like I said, like a day and a half. And I will literally kind of just shut down and probably most likely binge watch something because that's my top binge, numbing out activity. But after that time, I usually kind of come out of it and I'm like, okay, it's time to move forward. It's time to get out of this kind of funk and be like, okay, what can we do to move forward? And I will say, like, I'm really proud of myself for that because I think a lot of times people fall into that funk and it's a lot harder to get out of it. And that numbing out doesn't just become a day and a half thing, it becomes a very long term thing. And again, like I mentioned, it could lead to like really bad habits that aren't good for them. So I think with numbing out, if we ever, and I would say this from myself too, if I ever get to a really bad point, because I have been, really kind of numbing out recently, um, a lot, um, is noticing, okay, well, this is happening more than it needs to be. So what is actually going on? And really kind of taking that time to be like, okay, what is going on? And I mean, it doesn't have to be that serious. It's hard to deal with that stuff, don't get me wrong. emotions are most likely going to come up, but you can almost like do it from an observer viewpoint and be like, okay, well, what's going on? Like, why am I avoiding? Why might I be avoiding? And you may be like, it might click right away. It may take some time, but you might be like, oh yeah, I'm avoiding that because everything's just too stressful. There's this, and this going on, and it's just overloading. So then you can look at it, like I said, kind of more observing what's going on. And then it might allow you to kind of, like, to me, breaking things down. Like, that's kind of anytime I get overwhelmed and then I start to break things down to simple tasks, it kind of takes that overwhelm away and I feel like I can breathe again. So, but coming back to it, I think it's starting to be aware when you're starting to numb out too much and notice when it's starting to become, not really a good habit for yourself, and know that, okay, hey, maybe ask the question, why am I numbing out? Right? Is there something more going on? Now, probably a lot of times when we numb out, again, it's automatic. We do it as a way to calm ourselves down, to de-stress. Like, I think of at the end of the day, right? Like, you've done all this work, so you come home, you watch TV or play some games or maybe have a glass of wine or whatever, and I feel like that's okay. That's, again, our body saying, okay, we need time to rest, we need time to reboot, to not think of what I have to do tomorrow. Let's take a breather. So I think numbing out is okay sometimes, but again, it's differentiating that when it's becoming too much for yourself, like you're doing it way too often, you're maybe taking days off work. Now, of course, if you're going through something really heavy in your life and you're really struggling, you may need to take those days off to reset and to feel what you're feeling. And I really think that's okay sometimes. I think a lot of times, and I hopefully I'm not getting off topic, that we're hard on ourselves when we do realize we're numbing out too much and it's, becoming a repeated thing. Then again, I think we have to look at, okay, well, then what's really going on? Why am I turning to numbing out? What's the underlying issue? And if it's something really heavy, you may need to get help for that. You may need to find extra support to guide you through that. But I do find learning to accept that numbing out is okay and that we do need those times to reset. I think of numbing out now as a reset. And it's funny doing when I was thinking about this episode, I always saw numbing out as avoidance and as a bad thing. But as doing this episode, preparing for it and even doing it now, I'm like, you know what? Numbing out's it's good. It's good for our nervous system. Again, it's just when we start to do it too much, we need to be aware of that and say, oh, okay, like I just watched 12 hours or something, or um, I've did this 3 times this week where I numbed out. Now, a side note, let's break up the seriousness. I do like to go shopping. I feel like that's another numbing out thing that I do. That's a distraction. Um, so yeah, you when I take a day off or something, it's usually I will just chill on the couch and binge watch something or go shopping. But anyway, so yeah, I kind of see numbing out in a new light. Like, I don't see it as a bad thing. Of course, it can turn into a bad habit, but I think in general, numbing out is good for us. We need that time to numb out, but it's just bringing that awareness in to be like, okay, I'm doing this a lot. I just spent 5 hours on my phone watching reels. I think that's too much. And also like maybe setting those limits, not limitations, or boundaries for yourself when you do that stuff. Like a lot of times, like I say, on Sundays, I kind of do those numbing out activities. It's my day to do nothing, but I'll still throw in, okay, I'm going to go do this for a few hours and then I'm going to go wash some dishes. Like I make it, I consciously say, okay, let's go do something to where I'm not just sitting there all day. And it could be a simple task like, okay, let's go take out the garbage or let's go put this laundry away. So yeah, I kind of set like some boundaries for myself when it comes to numbing out. Um, but yeah, so I really hope for people that you start noticing what your numbing out habits are, making sure, they're not too unhealthy for you. And then setting those healthy boundaries for yourself as well. So that way, you don't overindulge, but also being compassionate to yourself and kind to yourself when you do have those days where you're like, I really need to numb out today. I need a break from this and to just kind of turn off because we do need those days from time to time. So yeah, I hope for everyone to hopefully get something out of today's episode. About numbing nonsense, which now I'm like, you know what? It's not nonsense. So, like I said, I see it in a more positive light now. But yeah, start becoming aware of your numbing out habits and know when it's becoming too much and kind of bring yourself back and ask those kind of questions, maybe what you're avoiding at that time. Now, something I want to promote, throughout the summer, I've been really working on um, like getting my online wellness programs up on on my website. So on the website now, and I've been working on updating the website as well. So please check out the website, www.libralivingwellness.com. Check out the online programs. There's also some mini offerings and some free clarity tools as well. So please check those out. Again, I'm also on the Insight Timer app. I'm putting audio courses and meditations there as well under my name, Megan Toops, which that's linked through the website as well. So I encourage you to check those things out. Um, there's some really great resources that I've created to kind of help you, build that balance in your life, and to, de-stress and to create healthier habits. So I thank you all who tunes into this episode. Please like and follow and subscribe to the YouTube channel at libralivingwellness.com or at Libra Living Wellness, sorry. And yeah, thanks for tuning in. And until next time.